Welcome to INFS 325 Public Relations. In session 5, we will look at another aspect of communication, and this aspect is non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is used a lot in our environment. That means the library environment. It is believed that libraries are very quiet places, but yet we need to communicate. So how do we communicate in libraries and other information environments, such as the archives and such as the museum? And so we'll look at non-verbal communication because it is also part of communication. So for this particular session, we'll have a few definitions and look at the functions of non-verbal communication, and we'll look at the different types of non-verbal communication that exists. So non-verbal communication can be defined as exchange of messages primarily through non-linguistic means, and this includes kinesics, that is body language. Yes, you can communicate using your body language. You can also communicate using your facial expressions, using your eye contact. Even you communicate through your appearance or your tactile communication, the touch. You communicate through space and territory, and even through the environment, or even paralanguage. That means your vocal cues that you give, and even through the use of silence and time. So we'll go through all these forms of nonverbal communication so that you know exactly what they mean. And you need to pay attention to them because they speak volumes, even though there is no oral communication. So functions of nonverbal communications, what do? They help manage our social and professional relationships. It's a kind of social cement, and they also help present ourselves that we want others to see, especially our social status, our job status, our group membership. You can see some people, especially some of them who happen to be leaders or managers or CEO, the way they walk into an organization. You can see that this is a big man coming. He's using just the non-verbal communication to be able to tell you exactly who he is. Non-verbal communication can also convey our mood or our state of feeling, our state of mind. It can also convey our interpersonal feelings. Non-verbal communication can also support our verbal messages when we are speaking. So it provides a feedback as well. So when somebody is talking to us and then we are either nodding or shaking our head, the person gets to know that we either agree with what he's saying or we disagree with what he's saying, even though we are not voicing anything. So that is the role of non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication can be conscious or voluntary. I mean, some people will just be nodding when you're talking. It's just voluntary because they think that I agree with whatever you're saying, so they're nodding just like I'm nodding to you. So non-verbal communication can also be used to reinforce the spoken message, and can be also used to express shock or to express fright or to express embarrassment, or even when you are happy. You can use a lot of non-verbal communications to express all these mode of behaviors. So let's look at some types of non-verbal communication. I mentioned the kinesics, which is the body motion, where you look at facial expressions. And of course, with my facial expression, I can show you that I am very happy, or I can show you that I am very sad. You can see that from my eyes. When I'm happy, I open my eyes. These are all type of the communication. So when you are with somebody and your body language expresses these things, the person knows that you are happy, you are sad, you are not comfortable with them. You haven't said anything, but your body language speaks volume of your feelings, of your opinions, of of what is going on in your mind. So we have the kinexis, which is the body emotion and the facial expressions, your physical gestures, the way you throw your arms or your limbs about, your touching and your movements, the proxemics, which is the position or your orientation, your space that you give people, especially when they visit you. Maybe you put them straight or beside you in a comfortable chair beside you, so you talk to the person. Then you've closed the space, so it's more intimate. Then your physical contact. Then, of course, your paralanguage, the voice quality, the volume, the speech, the choice of words, the feedback sounds. When I say, what does that mean? These are all parts of the non-verbal communication. So we also have things which can also communicate: your physical characteristics, your body shape, your posture, your height, your weight, your hair, your appearance. This is very important. Anytime we go anywhere, people assess us, and appearance speaks volume about us. So your dressing can tell you whether you are in a happy mood, whether you are looking professional, whether you are going into a business meeting, or you're just relaxed and going to a party or what have you. So your appearance is very, very important. So for a PR professional, you should know exactly how to dress. You should know how to dress and know where to go when you're in particular dress. So, and the environment also can speak a lot for us. The type of building where your office is, your room design, your room furniture can also speak volumes about you. Then the timing, whether you are being late for an appointment or you are early for an appointment, whether you keep others waiting, because time can be used to show the status. For instance, you visit a CEO's office, whether on appointment or not on appointment, he makes you wait or she makes you wait. Of course, at times it means he's very busy. At times it means that I am the boss here. When I'm ready, I call you. Time can be used to express or to communicate information to people. So these are examples of what we looked at initially. When you look at the kinesics, which is the body motion, you have the facial expressions, a frown on your face. What does that mean? It communicates. A smile on the face. What does that mean? A raised eyebrow. Or you have your gestures, using your fingers, pointing them when you're talking and everything. It also adds your messages, or it tells people exactly how you feel, whether you are angry. Some people put their hands on their hips when they are angry and when they are talking to you. So when somebody is talking to you with his hands on his hips, you know exactly where the person is coming from. Other body gestures, somebody fidgeting, it shows that the person is nervous. And eye contact, it shows the person, no eye contact shows the person is disinterested. However, when it comes to eye contact, I always mention some cultural practices of us. You know, in the past, traditionally, when you're talking to an elder, you don't make an eye contact because that is meant to be disrespectful. But currently, if you don't make any eye contact, especially when you're attending an interview, they think you're not truthful. They think you're not interested in what you're doing. So let's forget about the traditional non-eye contact. And for a PR officer, when you meet your audience, you need to make that eye contact. Otherwise, they become suspicious of whatever you are saying. So eye contact is very important as part of the non-verbal communication. Then the voice can tell you many things. A strong, clear voice shows confidence, and the shaky one shows nervousness and the rest. So we've looked at kinexis already, but let's go a little more into detail. It's the body movement. So how you move forward and backwards, especially when you are meeting your publics. You should pay attention to that kind of movement. It tells a lot about you as an individual. It is said that vertical movements draw yourself up to your, especially when your hand shaking. If you want to shake hands, you should draw yourself up and then you shake hands, all right? It says that then you are a master at selling your organization or yourself. Then we have side-to-side movements. What does it say about you? It says that you're a good informer or listener. So movement, body movement speaks a lot about yourself, and especially in public relations, you should know exactly what that means. We've looked at all these already, facial communications already, eye contact, facial. Then we come to tactile communication, the touch. Now, the touch facilitates sending a message. It also enhances emotional impact of the message, but it should be used properly. When it is used properly, it can direct messages more than even dozens of words. And what do I mean by that? For instance, if you work in an environment and you have some of your employees work very hard, you can give them a pat on their shoulder, and it creates the idea that you really appreciate what they are doing. Be careful of unholy touch or touching other places, which can bring about certain meanings in an environment. So don't touch places which are not legal for you to touch. A pat on the shoulder, it's all right, and it can either reinforce your message that you're sending of good work done by an employee. So this is what it says. When used improperly, it can build barriers and cause mistrust. And also when used improperly, it can invade somebody's space. So be careful about the touch. So if you think the touch is going to affect your communication process, there are other modes of communicating non-verbally. So you'd rather use those ones and avoid using the touch. But the touch is also used for communication, non-verbal communication. Personal space, the space between yourself and others. And this is what we call the invisible boundary, becomes apparent when somebody bumps or tries to enter your bubble. So your space is also known as your bubble. So you can actually let somebody enter your personal space, and that makes the person feel very comfortable. Or you can say you don't want people to enter your personal space. And so for instance, when you get a visitor in an office, you can tell the person, well, put the person right in front of you, and then you talk officially. That person knows that you have kept a space, and it is only meant for business. For instance, if the person decides to bring you to the sofa where he sits, and he also sits beside you, he's brought the space closer to you. And with personal space, you can actually exhibit a number of characteristics. It has a number of meanings, all right? So either bringing you closer or even distancing you just to show your status in the organization. But the higher you go, the more and better space you will always have, and the better protected your territory will be. So the environment can also be used to communicate. So the way you arrange the objects in your office, your table, if your table is always scattered with so many things, it can tell the person that you are not a very, very organized person. So environment, your space, the arrangement in your office, the design in your office, the way the carpet is, the way the curtains are, they all speak volumes of you. Even the size of your desk speaks volumes about you. Then paralanguage. These are feedback sounds. So when you make certain feedback sounds, especially from your throat, for instance, I'm clearing my throat, or just to support, these are all part of paralanguage. Means that I agree with you. Showing surprise, paralanguage. So these are feedback sounds, okay? And we use them to support whatever is being said, or to support or agree with somebody who is talking to you, especially when the person is not in front of you. He could be in front of you or not in front of you, especially on the telephone. The person cannot see you, so paralanguage is very important. And it helps the other person to know whether you are understanding him, whether you agree with him, or you disagree with him. Silence and time. It is also a way to communicate non-verbally. I don't say anything. It can either create tension or uneasiness, or create a peaceful situation. For instance, if a boss sees you and you are not working, or you are taking a break, he may not say anything, probably because he thinks you deserve that rest. Or he may not say anything, and then of course the next thing is he will call into his office and reprimand you. So silence can mean many things, and it can have positive or negative influence in the communication process. What about time? Time is also an indicator of status. So the length of time you give to your staff who wishes to speak to you can confirm whether you want him to know that, oh, I am the boss, wait for me, when I'm ready, I will talk to you. So in a healthy organization, the manager and subordinates should use time to communicate mutual respect to each other. Let's look at some possible non-verbal communication problems. When you communicate non-verbally, especially with people coming from different cultures, they may have different meanings to them. They may be angry with you because of a sign or gesture that you have made, because in their culture, it means something else. So when you are communicating non-verbally, you should know where you are. For instance, it's been said that when you are talking to elders, we don't use our left hand in Ghana. So you have to be careful of the use of non-verbal communication in certain environments. Certain gestures and certain symbols may not be acceptable to certain people, depending on their culture. And so they'll misconstrue your message or misinterpret your message. So be aware of cultural conventions and then the environment in which you are. If you are aware of these things, then you'll be able to use the non-verbal communication to be able to enhance your messages or to be able to communicate effectively with your publics. Pay attention to the telephone, because the person on the other side does not see you. So when communicating on the telephone, start on a friendly note, show interest, smile with your voice. You can actually smile with your voice, and the person on the other side will know that you are paying attention and you are interested in whatever he or she is telling you. Speak clearly and check that you have been heard and understood, so that you get the correct feedback from the person on the other side. So let's look at a final checklist on the nonverbal communication. Plan and be prepared, because almost invariably you would use some of these techniques when you're talking to people. Consider your appearance. Choose the right style. Think of your purpose and your audience. Be aware of how you use your voice tone, especially your para-language. Be aware of your facial expressions and gestures. If you are used to frowning all the time, please clear the frown off your face Otherwise, people will say you are always angry. Be aware of your position and posture and listen carefully and provide the feedback and response, and look for signals from the other person, whether he has heard, whether he has understood you. And be always gracious and polite. Remember, you are a PR officer. Things to avoid. Avoid showing off, avoid monopolizing the conversation, and avoid all those irritating mannerisms and gestures. Some of us, when we are talking, we have too many gestures. And so people tend to be looking at our gestures instead of listening to what we are saying, or even paying attention to the message or paying attention to your presentation. So avoid too many gestures in any communication, and stop showing boredom or impatience. The way you sit, the way you hold up your hand to your chest or to your chin shows whether you are bored or you are impatient, or whether even you are losing your composure or your control. And when communicating, try to avoid fidgeting, because fidgeting tells you a lot of things about yourself. Don't look bored, don't look impatient, and stop daydreaming, because they convey very negative messages to your clientele or to your publics. I hope you have really enjoyed this session, and we use a lot of nonverbal communication in libraries and information centers. So start practicing these. Once you practice this, you are able to control your nonverbal communication, especially your body language, especially your facial language, and especially your paralanguage. So for your activity, I'd want you to discuss in your own words and give examples how you use proxemics, how you use kinesics, and how you use paralanguage. And a lot of these occur every day. So you should be able to give everyday examples of how you use all these non-verbal cues. I thank you for paying attention, and I hope you'll be able to use these non-verbal cues to be able to enhance your messages, to enhance your relationship with your publics, with your friends, with your colleagues, and even when you are talking on the telephone, because the other person on the other side does not see you. And they will depend on your non-verbal cues to be able to understand your message. Thank you.